Naomi, I would say.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. She's got the belt, the thing. Yeah, whatever. Speaking of women's championships, Alexa Bliss versus Sasha Banks. I think you're going to see Sasha Banks win the title, and then I think you can see Bayley turn on her, hit the Bayley to belly in front of 12,489 stunned Brooklynites.
I don't know about that. It's I don't know. This is a tough one. I'm not sure who's going to win, to be honest with you. I really don't know. I'll say Banks wins, I guess. I think Bliss has had the title for a little while. She's done really well with it, but she's not like untouchable as the champion or anything like that. I could see Banks winning, so I'll just say Banks wins.
Can I also mention something that pissed me off about Raw, even though we're like a little bit past it?
No. Oh yeah, I mean, go ahead, sure.
No,
I want to know now. Go ahead.
You're gonna build Nia Jax up as this champ, like this savage animal heel, right? Doesn't she lose all of her heat by tapping out to 109-pound Sasha Banks in the middle of the ring?
Yeah, I mean, she loses some heat, I guess, if she had a lot going in. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's fun watching Nia Jax wrestle because you're never sure if she's going to kill somebody. So it's kind of like, let me go run in traffic. I might get hit by a car, I might not.
Hey, man. People love car crashes.
Speaking of car crashes, it's not...
Watch NASCAR.
That is true. I actually like the whole not making a right turn thing. I'm a big fan of that, just following it around in a circle. It's kind of like my life. Jinder Mahal... No, let's not go there. Let's go AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens for the United States title with Shane McMahon as a special guest referee. These guys have had... I can't tell you how many matches in a row now on pay-per-view. 3?
Well, this is their third pay-per-view match.
Yeah.
They had the Money in the Bank was in between them, so it was 3 out of the last 4 pay-per-views, at least for SmackDown.
I have been wildly underwhelmed with the matches these two guys have put on. I'm hoping this is maybe with Shane McMahon as a stipulation will add a little more zest to the match. I'm hoping it's a little more interesting than the previous ones were, but I'm hoping AJ Styles keeps the title.
Yeah, I'm going to say AJ will retain it somehow. I don't know if the long term here is Owens against Shane. That would be a guess. So I think Styles would keep it, and somehow they'll transition into, I don't know whether it's Shane does something by accident or makes a bad call and misses something in the match, and AJ will retain, and Owens will end up having a match with Shane McMahon at some point.
That's brutal. I hope that's not the case. Well, it could be worse. It could be Shane versus Brock Lesnar. What do we have? Jinder Mahal versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the WWE Championship. I think Jinder has been overexposed on TV as a lot as of lately. He's been wrestling every single week, and he doesn't look very strong. So I think I don't know if the Jinder experiment is over, and I think you'll see Nakamura walk away with the title.
Yeah, I think that's probably what they'll do. I don't know that I think it's probably too soon for Nakamura to win it, but I think it's time to shift it off of Jinder Mahal at this point. They've run with that gimmick for most of the summer now, and I think it's just kind of run its course. I mean, he only really faced Orton as far as a major feud was concerned, but there's just not a lot there for him. I don't see them... we thought this would be a spot for Cena, but Nakamura ended up winning the number 1 contender spot instead. So I can see them just bringing on Nakamura and having him be the champion on SmackDown for a little while and see if that maybe boosts ratings and viewership and fan interest and things like that. So
champion Brock Lesnar with Paul Heyman versus Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe versus Braun Strowman for the WWE Universal Championship. Now, this is a fatal four-way match, right? So 1 pin means you win the match.
Correct.
Now, in Paul Heyman's promo on Monday, he mentioned that all 3 were going to gang up on Lesnar and get him out of it. I took that to mean it was going to be an elimination style, but I guess I could be mistaken.
I don't believe it's elimination style. I assume they probably just meant they would take him out of the match so that they could then decide
battle amongst themselves. Okay. Man, why don't you go ahead? Why don't you start this one off?
I don't know. I'll just say Lesnar retains because I don't really have a feel. Like the original rumor was that they were putting this match on so that Reigns could get the title back and they would defend it on TV every week because they feel like Lesnar not being around makes it more difficult for the title. But Lesnar versus Reigns 1-on-1 was penciled in for WrestleMania next year. So I don't see that they maybe would have changed that. So I'll say that Brock will keep it. I don't think it's that if Braun winning it in the 4-way is probably not the way to go. I think when he wins it should be a bigger deal. Reigns winning it, I could see them doing it. I just don't. I wouldn't probably do it here. Just I don't know. I wouldn't really feel right about that. And then Joe, I think, would be great also, but he seems to be the least likely candidate at this stage. That doesn't mean he won't win, but so I think everyone seems to be thinking that Lesnar's going to lose and go back to UFC, and because they said he's going to leave WWE if he loses this match or loses the title in this match. So I think he'll end up retaining it in the end.
I got a weird feeling Samoa Joe is going to walk away with the title. I think he's probably done the most for himself in the last couple of months in terms of getting himself over. The crowd's really gotten behind him as a tweener, babyface kind of guy. The Paul Heyman Brock Lesnar stipulation, I feel like if you're going to put that stipulation out there, there's got to be a reason for it. Now, whether it means... Now, Heyman said they would leave Monday Night Raw, correct?
No.
Or did he say WWE?
He said WWE.
He said WWE? Okay. So, I don't know if Brock Lesnar plans on coming back at some point, but I think getting the title off him right now would be paramount because he's not on TV enough. I'm okay with once every other week, even once every 2 weeks, but, I can't tell you how long, the Intercontinental title was the most important thing on, Raw, and now it's not even on the show. But you should have, somebody should be the champion who's going to be able to be there a little more frequently. And I think Lesnar as champion has run its course. He's been champion since WrestleMania, right?
Yep.
WrestleMania was what, April? March?
Yes,
April, May, June, July, August. He's been champion for 5 months and defended it once against Samoa Joe.
Yeah, I think he defended it against Samoa Joe at Great Balls of Fire, and now he's defending it at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
So.
2 title defenses in 5 months. This isn't 1991 Hulk Hogan. You need to be something better than that. So I think Samoa Joe as your champion, he can carry the belt. He could carry a match, more importantly than anything else. And he's got the crowd behind him. So I'm taking Samoa Joe.
All right.
Are you excited for this show? I mean, it seems like a lot of filler to me. I mean, if I'm looking at this card, I'm looking at a 12-match, 4-hour show. Right off the top, I would trim Cena, Corbin, Balor, Wyatt, Big Show, Cass, Orton, Rusev, and make it a normal 3-hour show.
Well, all right. So it's 10 matches on the main card, and it starts at 7, so it'll probably be close to 4 hours in for 10 matches. So, I mean, I don't know. I think Big Show and Big Cass shouldn't be on the pay-per-view. Like that's not required here. The other things. Like you have to get your stars on here, right? So Cena needs a match, Orton needs a match. I'm sure they wanted to do something with Balor, obviously, because he's missed several other shows for Raw that he didn't make the cut on that. So I think, I would probably just jettison the Big Show and Cass match, and I can leave the rest. Do you need both women's titles defended? Probably not. Do you need both tag titles defended? Probably not. The IC title isn't even on the show, so you probably could have just picked out the ones that. Would have been better. I always prefer the 3-hour shows, of course. I don't like shows that go longer than that. But
I don't like shows that go longer than 2 hours.
Yeah, so I think Show and Cass is the one that I would just leave off completely. But other than that, I think all these other matches have just justification to be there. It's just that it's going to be a long show. So,
well, last year didn't it go like 45 minutes later too?
I think so. I don't remember. It was a long show. I remember that. I don't remember all the matches that were on it, but I just remember it being a very, very long show.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I mean, there. Will there be a superstar shakeup on Monday? Did they confirm that? Deny that?
I've not. I mean, they didn't say anything on Raw or SmackDown that I heard. So
I was reading something about that early September, maybe. So it would be cool to see a superstar shakeup on Monday night following. But who knows? I think we should have some cool outcomes for it, and there's a lot of room, to grow from this show. Now, who surprises you by not being on the show?
Who surprised me by not being on the show?
Is there anybody you feel like this show is missing?
I mean, I think just the Intercontinental title not being on it is probably a little surprising. I know they were kind of heading in the direction of Miz against Jason Jordan, but obviously that whole angle with him is fallen pretty flat, and then Miz kind of got put on the back burner. And I think they were probably planning on doing the Hardys against the Revival, and then obviously the Revival had another injury, so now neither of those teams is on the show, along with like Anderson and Gallows and guys like that. So I guess those are the ones, like the Hardys and the Miz, I would say, are probably the most glaring omissions for teams, people on the show that are not there. But the Hardys thing was probably due to injury, and the Miz thing was just a change of plans.
I feel like Jason Jordan had like the biggest storyline for like the last 6 weeks, and to not have him on the show kind of. It's rough, but it's nobody's fault but their own because they haven't made anybody care about that storyline whatsoever. So, well, that's SmackDown. That's SmackDown. That's SummerSlam. SummerSmack?
SummerFest.
SummerSmack deb in the middle of the summer. Just before we wrap up here, have you gotten a chance to watch any of the G1 matches?
No.
Okay. Well, that's all the talk we have for the G1
I choose
Climax.
not to run. That's what That's from Seinfeld.
Oh, I've never really watched Seinfeld. Sorry.
That's a separate conversation we need to have, probably off air.
You choose not to watch a G1? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to find. It's a lot of matches to watch.
It is.
I also don't have a subscription in New Japan World, so that's another.
I would like to thank Don Callis, aka the Jackal, aka Cyrus, and Kevin Kelly for really. It's tough when you got to watch a 4-hour show in complete Japanese. Tetsuya Naito is the G1 2017 winner, the first ever 2-time winner. He won back in 2013, I believe, and he beat Kenny Omega in the finals. I'm going to pose this question to you. Has there been a wrestler who has had more consistent matches in 1 year than Kenny Omega this year?
Are you saying this year's or ever?
Ever.
Oh, yeah, sure, of course.
I'm going to go ahead and disagree with you.
I saw that one coming, so...
I just feel like... I don't know. I think Naito, too. When you look at the top guys in Japan, like you have Naito just match after match, he just came out, actually. Naito just said something that he hopes next year's G1 Climax doesn't have, for lack of a better term, any jobbers in there, which I thought was a pretty interesting statement. Because this year, like they have like a Yano. I never have any interest in seeing Yano wrestle ever again. It had Juice Robinson, who they kind of made, into this huge over baby face. Michael Elgin this year, and Naito said he kind of wants to see nothing but the elite of the elite. So I think next year, I know it's not a big, it's not looked upon very highly in Japan, but maybe bring in some outsiders from organizations that have never, even wrestled in Japan before. Maybe get some people from Impact or from Ring of Honor or something, just to get a little diversity. Because Okada, Omega, Naito, and Ishii and Tanahashi are amazing in their own right, but how many years can you watch the same people wrestle over and over and over? And I think this year, Naito versus Omega eclipsed their match last year, but I don't want to see it again right away, and I feel like that's the problem with some of the headliners in Japan. Of course, they had a lot of losses last year with a bunch of people going to AJ and Nakamura and Gallows and Anderson going to WWE, but and they did the best that they did, and I think they built some stars this year. They built Michael Elgin. They're doing a really good job building Evil. They lost Katsuyori Shibata due to injury, so they're doing the best with what they have. But you can't have the same. I don't want to see Bad Luck Fale in another G1. I don't want to see him play spoiler, beat, let's say, the TV champion, and then get a shot at the TV title because he beat the TV champion in the G1. There are just some guys that really shouldn't be in the G1 Climax. That being said, I think this year was incredibly strong. There wasn't a bad night to watch. The blocks were broken up very well. I would have liked to see Ibushi in the finals. It would have been, we talked about it last week, it would have been a change of pace from the main four, which everybody kind of expected to be the final four of Tanahashi, Naito, Okada, and Omega. I also really enjoyed Omega versus Okada's third match because it was, it had 30 minutes or less, and it wasn't a 49-minute match, and it wasn't a 60-minute match. So that was a different match. They told a different story. They had a more linear storyline, if you will, and Naito winning. Hopefully that's going to set up Naito versus Okada at Wrestle Kingdom. So we'll see what happens. Unless somebody beats Naito before then, of course, then they get the briefcase, if you will. But Naito was the right guy to do it. I know you had said you would hope that's who you wanted to win. So I think they made the right decision, and a clean loss for Omega is not going to hurt anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like we said last week,